Right. Welcome. My name is Adelina Comas Herrera. I'm the director of the Global Observatory of Long-Term Care. And I'm delighted to welcome you today to this webinar of the interest group we have at the Observatory on employment and education implications of unpaid care. I'm going to briefly share some slides to tell you a little bit about the Observatory and about our next webinars before. So the Global Observatory of Long-Term Care is a platform for cross-national learning to improve and strengthen care systems. It's part of the International Long-Term Care Policy Network. And our aim is to identify key shared challenges on long-term care and showcase how different countries and locality are addressing them, and share research evidence and facilitate collaborations. And this is a platform that's open to policymakers, industry, advocates, care professionals, and academics. To engage with Global Observatory, the most important thing is to become a member and to choose the interest groups that you're interested in, because that's the way that you will be then invited to join webinars, and you'll be able to also perhaps suggest new interest groups if you'd like. And the aim is that you can find people with similar interests. You can also share publications and events. And we're very much open to ways of sharing knowledge. So please let us know if you have a new publication or if you'd like to write a topic guide or a brief on a particular topic. We're also publishing blog posts, and we have presentations and long-term care systems that we are gradually publishing. In terms of our next event, after today, the next webinar is on the 18th of February. That's a very different topic. It's from a new interest group on global perinatal mental health, and this webinar will be on scaling digital technologies to support people, including some examples from Australia. The next one after that is on quality on long-term care from another new interest group, and this one is on quality improvement. And the webinar will be on rethinking frameworks and approaches for assessment and improvement of long-term care systems. And we'll hear from a new tool from the World Health Organization. And we've got see the date now, on the 17th of March, a webinar on ownership, asymmetric information, and quality of care for all the people, with evidence from the US nursing homes during the COVID pandemic. So that's all from me. Thank you very much for joining us. And I'd like to hand over to the interest group.
Thank you, Adelina, and good morning or good afternoon or good evening, everyone, depending on where you are based. My name is Tessie Gamanos. I'm the director of Eurocarers, and we are part of this interest group. It is a pleasure to be with you this morning, or again, this afternoon or this evening, for the first webinar of the Employment, Education and Family Carers interest group, at least first webinar of this year. The main aim of this group is to bring together researchers, academics, advocates, policymakers, practitioners to explore the impact of unpaid care on the education and employment of family carers, or as we call them at European level, informal carers. Now, obviously, the group seeks to shed light on the situation of carers from a variety of backgrounds, and with particular attention given to young carers and those with specific needs or experiences. And our focus is on national and local policies that support carers in staying in or returning to work and education. The working group offers a platform for exchange and mutual learning, as Adelina explained, helping to shape fairer support systems to ease the burden on carers and to create more opportunities for work and study. Now, throughout the year, we organize webinars that bring together global experts to share research findings and best practices, fostering collaboration and informing policy development. So please do keep an eye on our website and encourage your colleagues to join this interest group, or even, as we just heard, suggest new interest groups. There is more to come, in the future. In today's session, we will discuss the crucial importance of work-life balance for informal carers. As we all know, many unpaid carers, and particularly women, struggle to manage both caregiving and paid work. Gender equality is a central aspect of this issue, as women often bear the brunt of informal care, and that impacts their career progression, their financial independence, and of course, their well-being. Another key challenge is the tension between the need to remain productive and the demands of caregiving in today's societies and in the context of aging populations. It is therefore essential to continue advocating for policies and measures that provide greater flexibility and support for carers, while also highlighting the benefits of such support for businesses and society as a whole. Now, to discuss all of this, we have two amazing speakers with us today. Catherine Wilson, you are the head of Employers for Carers, an organization led by Carers UK that supports employers in helping staff who are also unpaid carers. And Catherine, you are a former board member of my organization, so it's great to see you today. And then we will hear a presentation by Professor Shingo Ikeda, who is the Vice Director of Research at the Institute for Labor Policy and Training in Japan. And the role of the Institute is to provide evidence-based insights to support policymaking by the Japanese government, and particularly the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare. After each of the two presentations, we will have just a few minutes for burning questions, but no worries. After that, we will have a discussion session with all of you, with the audience, and I hope you will be, active as part of that session. And that session will be moderated by my colleague, Nicola Brimblecombe from the London School of Economics, who also leads this interest group. So please feel free to prepare questions for that session. Without further ado, I'll give the floor to Catherine Wilson. So Catherine, please, the floor is yours, and I think you have 15 minutes for your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stacey, for that introduction, and delighted to be with you all today. I'm going to say good day and good evening so that hopefully everyone gets the right greeting, and hoping that you can see my slides. I'm just going to talk briefly about supporting carers in the workplace, a policy and practice perspective from the UK. So just firstly, as Stacey said, I'm from Carers UK. We're a charity who's here to make life better for carers. It's wonderful to be joining you today because it's our 60th anniversary this year. We were founded by the Reverend Mary Webster, her photo is there, and we give expert advice, information and support to carers in the UK. We connect carers so that no one has to care alone. We campaign together for lasting change for carers, and we also innovate to find new ways to reach and support carers. And one of the ways that we do that is through our Employers for Carers forum to reach people while they're caring at work, because we know that many of us, and I speak from direct personal experience, acquire caring responsibilities while we're of working age. So I'm just going to cover here a few words about the policy context in the UK, including some key facts about carers and employment. Secondly, legal rights of carers in the workplace now and potential next steps. And lastly, some good practice developments and what helps. So just to start with a few key headline facts, the latest census in the UK, 2021, estimates that there are about 3 million carers in paid employment, people juggling work and care. But our Carers UK research and polling suggests that number may be even higher, around about 1 in 7 in any workplace, and higher in some sectors. There's also an interesting gender balance because, again, our research and polling shows that women have a 50-50 chance of providing care by the age of 46, compared with men at the age of 57. And of course, at age 46 and indeed 57 are very often ages while we're at work. So that is why it is such a big workplace issue. There's also some interesting sectoral differences. I mentioned around 1 in 7 in any workplace being the average from our polling research, but actually we know in some sectors, for example, health, it's much higher. So 32% of National Health Service staff in the UK are providing unpaid care. That's quite an amazing stat, and it was 2 years running in their workforce survey. There's also some interesting fluctuations. The Centre for Care at the University of Sheffield found that around 1.9 million people in the UK in employment become carers every year. And this was between 2010 and 2020. And that was around 5,300 workers every day in the UK becoming a carer. So one of the challenges, I think, for employers is that it's not a static population. People are coming into caring situations all the time in the workplace. Huge impacts of caring on work. So 3 key impacts we see. Carers report working below their potential, including reducing working hours and giving up career opportunities. And we know from our polling research that that's around 2 million people in the UK in that situation. Number 2, the stress of doing 2 jobs if unsupported. This is a phrase that's often used by carers in our surveys, and stress is a key reason that carers give up work or reduce working hours. And thirdly, perhaps the biggest impact of all, giving up work. So from our research, again, we found that 2.6 million people in the UK have given up work to care. And that's around 600 people a day in recent years. So when you think about that, 600 people in the UK every day giving up work to care, it's a very substantial issue. So what are carers' priorities for workplace support given these impacts? These 3 top priorities, interestingly, have remained the same ever since I've worked in this area, which is when I first joined Carers UK in 2007, and these 3 haven't changed. So understanding, top of the list of what carers say they need from their manager or employer, is a recognition and understanding of their situation. Otherwise, carers often feel they can't talk about it in the workplace. Flexibility, particularly flexible working and flexible leave arrangements, and information, signposting, being referred to information and support, both in the workplace and for organisations that can help with caring, like Carers UK and local carers organisations. So that's some sort of top headline facts and key impacts of carers that we see. But now just a little word about carers' legal rights at work in the UK. So at the moment, we have 5 key pieces of law which are relevant to carers. Now, the first 4 of those bullet points have been around for some time. Right to time off in emergencies to care for dependents, right to request flexible working, parental leave and shared parental leave, and protection from discrimination. And all of these, of course, are not aimed specifically at carers. They include carers and can greatly help carers, but they're not explicitly for carers. And the protection for discrimination in the Equality Act 2010 is a protection from discrimination by association. It's not a full protection, but it means that as a carer, you're protected because of the association you have with the person who may be disabled or older that you're caring for. But lastly, the right to carers' leave for planned commitments under the Carers Leave Act 2023 is a really significant act for carers because it is specifically for carers. So I'm just going to say a little bit about this. So it's a new right to take up to 5 days unpaid leave to provide or arrange care for a dependent with a long-term care need. And it's been really helpful to have an act with the word carer in the title. So for the first time, it's made it very explicit. It's available from the first day of employment, and it can be taken flexibly for planned and foreseen caring commitments. So it complements the time off for emergencies, for dependents. It also gives a very important right to return to the same job, the same terms and conditions, and protection from dismissal or any detriment because of taking leave. So it's really interesting that for the first time, really, carers are benefiting from the sort of protections that we have in the UK for other workers on family leave. Now, I've said a little bit about the current legal rights, and this is obviously what employers have to do, but what about what employers can do? What about good practice? So here I just want to sort of highlight some examples from our Employees for Carers business forum. And our key purpose when we set this up, and it went live as a membership forum 16 years ago now in 2009, is to support employers to develop carer-friendly workplaces, also to promote the bottom line benefits of supporting carers. We know that employers recognise that, that's why they stay with us, but also they talk to other employers, and employers learn from each other, and that can be very powerful. And it also helps to influence employment policy and practice. We've now got over 230 members. It's growing all the time, representing around 3 million employees in the UK. And what's really interesting is we have a really wide range of sectors: private sector, public sector, not-for-profit. So it's very well spread. Mainly larger organisations, but we do have some smaller ones and medium-sized businesses as well. So how we help? So I've just left that slide really for information, but the thing I want to highlight here is that what we've learnt from employers about what they want has really helped us develop our support. One of the key things that employers say is it's really useful for workplaces to have information all in one place, both for managers and for carers. So our EFC digital platform has sections which are really easy to locate. Once you become a member, you can just access those, and it's very transparent about what we're saying and what the employer is saying is good practice. Employers learn from each other at networking events. And one of the key things that they do as well is have an audit of workplace policy and practice. So in the very early days when we first set up Employers for Carers, that the very early pioneers in this area, like BT, British Gas, PricewaterhouseCoopers, they were saying, well, actually, we don't even know what we do at the moment. We don't even know whether we've got any carers in our workplace. Let's start with a basic audit. And that's still very helpful to this day, employers doing this. And what we've done on our 10th anniversary in 2019 is launch our employer benchmark Carer Confidence. So that's now 6 years old. And that has really helped organisations to identify gaps, what they feel that they don't yet provide for carers. They may feel that we don't really know enough about who are the carers in our workplace. Not only identifying gaps, but actually also helping employers bridge that gap and putting in place a very practical framework that enables you to develop, but also to sustain good practice. So over the years, we have developed in English these 5 Ps for what good practice looks like. And this is entirely informed by the practical experience of our member organisations. And so what we have learnt from them is that preparation, enabling carers to identify themselves and come forward for support, doing that workplace audit, making it clear that you're having a conversation about caring in your workplace. Policy and guidance, it's making your support for carers transparent. It's no good having policies that might support carers if you don't make it transparent and explicit that it is relevant for carers. Practical support, offering practical help and adjustments. Peer support, connecting carers to other carers in the workplace. It can be so helpful, I know that personally as a carer, to speak to other people who've had that experience. And then lastly, promoting support, communicating support to and for carers regularly. So what does that look like in practice? Just a couple of examples I'm going to pick out from here. So on the preparation front, things like doing a staff survey, including questions about caring in a general workforce survey, or doing a specific survey to ask people in the workplace, are you looking after or supporting a relative or friend who may be disabled or needs support? Guidance on having one-to-one conversations in the workplace, so encouraging those conversations so that people feel that caring is a visible issue in the workplace. Policy and guidance, I think things like having a dedicated carers policy, a dedicated charter, an all-in-one-place statement so that managers and carers know where to look for support for carers, and things like offering paid carers leave, which goes above and beyond the legal minimum. Practical support can include things like, for example, health and wellbeing scheme or carers passport. These are really practical tools which can help have a conversation in the workplace, document support, and means that the carer can then take that information with them if their line manager changes, rather than having to often start what may be quite a difficult personal conversation about their caring responsibilities. And we see that carers passports are being taken up by employers more and more, and can really be a really practical tool, and also help promote consistency in the workplace by making sure that good practice is carried through from manager to manager. And then peer support, so things like having a carers network or support group, and particularly perhaps a key carers champion, especially at senior level, can really make a difference. And then lastly, promoting support, probably really almost the most important thing of all. So here it's a combination of having dedicated awareness raising campaigns. So in the UK, we have our annual Carers Week awareness raising campaign that Carers UK coordinates with a range of charities in June. We also have an annual Carers Rights Day campaign in November, but also I think making caring part of the general communications as well. So including caring information in wider family-friendly communications, wider health and wellbeing communications. And so just looking at the business benefits of all this, so why are employers doing this and why are they sort of staying with us? So I've given you a few P's here. So again, in English, our R's here are the good practice examples. So this is what employers report to us. Improved recruitment, attracting a wider range of skills. So employers, for example, who are achieving our benchmark are saying that having the logo carer confident is actually helping them in terms of recruitment. They're getting more people applying for jobs, and it's giving the right message that the employer will be flexible on considering carers. Improved retention, very critical, keeping skilled and experienced staff. Improved resilience, because when carers are supported, they feel less stressed and report better well-being. So lastly, that all adds up to better results all round, better staff engagement and improved productivity. Now, productivity is a hard thing to measure, but one of our founding members, Centrica, a founder member of Employers for Carers, parent company of British Gas, has introduced carer-friendly policies, particularly paid carers leave, which they've had for many years, and a very thriving workplace carers network. And when they actually quantified this, they said that it actually saved their company around £1.8 million a year through preventing unplanned absences and presenteeism, and a further cumulative savings of around 1.3 million through increased staff retention. So what next, really? It's good to hear about this great practice, but obviously at Carers UK, we want more organisations to do this and to really support carers in the workplace. So what next on the policy front? My final slide is really, in a nutshell, what Carers UK would like to see. So we would like to see, firstly, a new statutory right to paid carers leave. So that would be building on the current Carers Leave Act, which has only just come into force, which provides unpaid leave. And already we're seeing employers going above and beyond by introducing paid carers leave. So that's encouraging, but we think a law would make a real difference. Secondly, stronger protection from discrimination through amending the Equality Act to make caring the 10th protected characteristic, so that it's not just discrimination by association, but protection for carers in their own right. And we think that will be easier for employers as well, because employers, our evidence suggests, are sometimes quite confused about the protection from discrimination by association. And last, and perhaps really for this event, perhaps the most significant point here, a clear plan for social care reform, including recognition of the economic impact of social care, which could be fundamental for carers' ability to stay in or return to work, because we know that can be a real barrier, and that is something we hear is one of the reasons as well why carers give up work to care, not only because they have problems in their workplace, but because they can't access the very vital care and support services that they need for their families. So I'm going to say thank you very much for listening to me. I'm going to leave my contact details there, and I'm going to stop sharing, and very happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Very interesting as always. So we can proceed to the second presentation, and I'll ask Professor Ikeda to upload the slides, please.
So I'm a professor of the Japanese Government Institute on the labor policy, and I'm very honored to be here today. I met, I went to UK before the COVID-19 pandemic, so I would like to visit again. So today I will make a brief presentation about Japanese care leave policy and related policy on the combining work and family care, especially on the elderly care. Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm originally a sociologist, but Recently, my research focuses on the human resource management, especially in the companies measures on the supporting working carers. And in relation to the UK, I was a member of the Sustainable Care Research International Research Program based at University of Sheffield, and I visited CARES UK just 10 years ago. So it was my good memory. So please say hello to the headquarters. And so regarding the Japanese care policy making, I was a member of the working group for the amendment of the Care Leave Act. It is hard to introduce the whole of the Japanese policy in detail, so I'd like to focus on the question, just one issue. So this is a question. So can we move beyond the dilemma between defamiliarization and familiarization? So, as you know, the Japanese society is often seen as the familial society in international comparative welfare regime studies. Although the Japanese government has made effort to defamiliarize the elderly care through the long-term care insurance. Actually, private care service providers have increased under this insurance system. However, it is argued that the care is being refamiliarized due to the financial constraints and the rapidly increased number of care recipients. To remove beyond the dilemma between defamiliarization and familiarization, the Japanese government has adopted two strategies now. The first is to maintain the autonomous lives of care recipients as much as possible by maintaining the physical and cognitive function of the elderly people. And the second one is to expand to out-of-pocket service to address the diverse needs of the devoted care, in addition to the long-term insurance care services. To illustrate the current situation, the Japanese policy on work elderly care reconciliation, we can map out 4 types of support system by crossing 2 axes. The vertical axis represents who cares, familiarization or defamiliarization, and the horizontal axis represents how cares, devoted care or supporting autonomy. The traditional family care is an example of the devoted care within the family welfare regime. In contrast, the long-term care insurance system aims at defamiliarization of the elderly care, but it doesn't fully replace family care. Today's long-term care insurance emphasizes to maintain the physical and cognitive function of the elderly people to support autonomous lives of the elderly persons, even if they are partially dependent. From this perspective, debated family care can sometimes seem overcommitment. The Care Leave Act doesn't assume that working carers will provide devoted care, even though it envisions prolonged care provision by family carers. To address diverse needs of carers and care recipients who need devoted care, the government plans to expand out-of-pocket service as an industrial policy. Except the traditional family care, so there are 3 types of the defamiliarized and defamiliarized support system for the work and elderly care reconciliation in Japan. So my major is on the labor policy, and I would like to explain the Care Leave Act mainly. But the long-term care insurance and the business industrial policy of the out-of-pocket service is also related to the Care Leave policy. So I would like to introduce all these 3 types of policies here. So first, I'd like to explain introduce the outline of the Care Leave Act, the current Care Leave Act. So the Japanese Care Leave Act requires employers to accept employees' proposals for long-term care leave of up to 93 days and short-term care leave of up to 5 days per year, and exemption from overtime work until the end of care provision. Furthermore, employers must introduce at least one flexible working arrangement, such as reducing scheduled working hours, flex times, and staggered working hours. And these flexible working hours can be replaced by subsidies for care services. So it should be noted that these support systems are designed to allow workers to address care responsibilities while committing their work as much as possible, rather than devote themselves to continuous care provisions. For that reason, long-term care leave can be divided 3 segments, and short-term care leave can be taken on hourly basis. And reducing scheduled working hours is not obligatory. However, working carers don't always understand the purpose of the regulation. Therefore, the latest amendment to the Care Leave Act requires employers to inform their employees about the support system available, ensuring that workers can adequately utilize these resources. Some working carers regard the long-term care leave as the leave to devote themselves to care provision for long time. But actually, the purpose of the long-term care leave is the different. It is the leave for the handling temporary emergencies, such and preparation for the combining work and prevent care, such as secure the care services and so consulting the care managers and something like that, and short-term care leave and flex working arrangement are also designed their own specific purposes in mind. So I moved to the long-term care insurance. This is the structure of the long-term care insurance. It's very complex, but the framework is very simple. The public care insurance and the private companies as the service providers, and the older people as the users. And so the many of the we would like to pay attention, focus on the private companies as the service providers. The many of the service providers are private companies that receive insurance fees in addition to user payment in exchange for providing care. And thanks to the public insurance, elderly people can access service at reasonable prices, and service providers receive adequate fees. As a result, the provision of care service has significantly increased since the insurance system started in 2000. And the expansion of the care service under the long-term care insurance reduced the need for the care leave. Workers can now delegate their caring responsibilities to professional care services, instead providing care by themselves. The supply of the higher cost facility care service is limited compared to the rapidly expanding in home care services. Due to the increasing number of the care recipients, the government is reluctant to expand care facilities, and instead, it emphasized extending the use of in-home care service as long as possible. Additionally, it is often said the supply of in-home care services is also being restricted. The growing demand for care exceeds the increasing supply of care services. As a result, it is argued that the insufficient service supply defamiliarizes the elderly care. To address the restriction of the service supply, the government has developed an elderly care support program aimed at maintaining independence by preventing frailty and disease. Current long-term care insurance services have expanded the focus on the prevention-oriented programs rather than providing extensive care to dependent persons. And as the industrial policies, the government expands the out-of-pocket services in addition to the long-term care insurance services. So for the people who need the extensive care, the long-term care insurance might be insufficient. And the combination of statutory care leave and long-term insurance services may be insufficient for working carers who wish to commit to job responsibility with providing extensive care. To address the diverse needs of both carers and care recipients, the Japanese government plans to expand out-of-pocket service, and the new association was established here. So care-related service businesses. This is this association aims at expansion of the care service out of the insurance system. So here's the conclusion. In summary, the Japanese policy on supporting working carers relies on the market mechanism. Even though Japan's welfare society is typically considered different from market-based welfare society like United States and the UK. But the out-of-pocket service the government plans to expand distinctly market-based, and long-term care insurance services are also provided by the private companies in the market. The care leave policy as a labor policy depends on the employer's interest in the labor market. Therefore, we should ask whether these policies prioritize business interest over the well-being of the carers. It should be noted that there is no carer-oriented policy in Japan comparative to the UK's Carers Act. In this sense, Japanese policies on supporting working carers might be seen as lacking a solid foundation in context of carer supportive policies. We should discuss the best way to support working carers now. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I have a quick question, if I may, follow-up question for clarification. You mentioned about the long-term care leave, and you mentioned the potential to access 93 days unpaid. Is that per year?
Unpaid, yeah. Unpaid, but guaranteed by the employment insurance. The 6% payment was guaranteed by the public insurance.
But this is accessible for carers every year or over the duration of the entire career?
Oh, yeah. But just up to 93 days.
Per year? Per year?
No. Total care provision, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Two really, really interesting discussions. It's interesting to see how it's being done differently. I've definitely got some questions myself, but I'm going to let other people ask their questions. So, Joanna.
My name is Johanna Fischer. I work at the University of Bremen on comparative long-term care policies. Thanks for the great presentations. I actually have a question for both presenters, and I would be interested for the UK, which kind of care leave reforms you are lobbying for. What are the current policy proposals, or are there any current policy proposals extending the Act which I discussed, and for Japan, I was wondering how many people are approximately taking up these care leave options, because actually from the German or Austrian care leave options, which are also not really or partly paid, we know that many little people are really taking up these policies as they are currently designed. So I'm wondering how this is in Japan. Thanks.
Thank you for the question, Johanna. So what we're campaigning for at Carers UK is for the current statutory right to carers leave, which is to 5 days unpaid leave, to be built upon by providing paid leave provision. So what we're saying, being responsible campaigners, as we say, we're thinking first of all to make that 5 days, to build on the structure of the current Carers Leave Act and make it 5 days of paid leave. But our aim is to build that towards 10 days of paid leave. But we see that politically things often work in phases. So as they've got the structure for the 5, they could start by doing 5 and then moving to 10. And we'd also like to see, potentially looking at a longer period of unpaid leave as well. Just in a sense, looking at what we see in parental leave provision, that caring falls very much behind that. So I hope that's helpful. The reason we say about paid is we know that many, particularly women, those on the lowest pay, are the ones that often need the support most. They can't afford to buy in more additional care, and they're often the people that can't afford to take unpaid leave, and so are likely not to take it at all. So that's our position at Carers UK.
And Shingo, the question to you, I think, was about how many people take it up.
Oh, sorry. It's very small number actually. So I can show the information. So this is the rate of care leave taker among the working carer in Japan. So the top is sorry, only Japanese, but the top is the long-term care leave takers. Just 2.1% among the employees working carers. And the second one is the short-term care leave. Sorry, only among full-time working carers. And total employed working carers 1.6%. And the short-time care leave is 4.5%. So, but it is important that the need of the care leave is diverse, and everyone doesn't need the long-term care. Someone needs only short-time, and someone needs only exemption from overtime work. But we don't clarify they understand this system correctly. So the Japanese government require employer to inform the correct information to their employees. That's the background.
Is this percentage of carers who take it or percentage of employees who take it?
Yeah, employees.
Okay, so you don't know how many of those need it, I suppose, is the but interesting. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think Ruru, if that's how you pronounce your name, sorry. Did you want to ask your question? Because I think it kind of follows up from that.
Thank you, Ikita Sensei, for this great presentation. My name is Ruru. I work for Hitotsubashi, based in Tokyo. And my question is about for some details about the Care Leave Act. So does it matter about whether the type of employment matters? Because in Japan, many women actually take part-time jobs. And then based on the table, the formal employment, the take-up rate is already so low. And then I wonder whether like full-time employment versus part-time employment. And recently, the fixed-term, short-term contract is becoming even more common in Japan compared to the traditionally the tenure-based employment in
Yeah.
big companies. So I wonder whether the type of employment matters for their the amount of benefits or the entitlement for the carers actually receive the benefits. Thank you.
But the part-time workers can eligible for the care leave in Japan. It is true that many of the working carers is part-time female worker in the middle age, but today there are increasing number of the full-time workers, full-time working carers in Japan. This is the comparison between the 2012 and 2022, and the regular employee mean the full-time workers, and the non-regular mean the part-time or fixed-term workers. So the most large number of the working carers is still the non-regular workers, workers of female. Sorry, the yellow one, the female, but the this gray one of the regular employee. No. The orange one is the regular full-time working female workers. That is the full-time employed female workers is increasing. Today's composition of the working carers. So the most large number is the female non-regular employees, the part-time or fixed time. But the second large one is the male regular employees. And the third one is the female full-time employees. So the totally the full-time employees are more than the part-time or fixed-time employees. The situation of the working carer is changing with decreasing number of the young working generations. And the male regular employees means the single son of the older parents, or the husband of taking care, provide care to the afraid wife, and the full-time employees is the career developed women. So the Japanese government make effort to encourage women to develop their career recently. As a result, the full-time female workers face the matter of the work care reconciliation in the middle age.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I guess my question was, it's for both of you actually, that Catherine, you were talking about next steps, about a package of support, and it was really interesting to see in Shingu's presentation that care leave is also part of a package of support around long-term care insurance that's about reducing the need for care leave and about kind of flexible working. So I'm wondering how important you both think that is for it to be part of that kind of package.
I say something first? Thank you for the question, Nick. Yes, incredibly important. I mean, at Carers UK, many years ago, we published a report around, it was called Time for a Social Contract, ? And it was really around the whole issue about the partnership approach that needs to be taken, because employers can do so much and we encourage them to do so much, but people also need the care and support services as well to enable them to care and work. And even people that give up work to care need support from care and support services very often. They can't do it all alone. So we would see that we would like to see all these voices. And it was very interesting to see Shingu's slide there with that sort of holistic approach about all these different factors. And it's something we are campaigning for at Carers UK. My last point on my presentation was around you know, us urging for this clear plan for social care reform. We know in the UK this has been going on for several governments about trying to get a sort of political party consensus to come together to look at the funding and future of social care provision, really. So it's a massively important issue, and you know, employers are incredibly important, but they can only do so much on this.
Oh, okay. Thank you for the question. So it is true the Japanese government make a package of the measures for supporting working carers, but based on my research, the needs and the travel of the program of the working carers is more diverse than the Japanese government's supposition, and we should increase more kind of more sort of the support measures such as telework and some communication system between the employee and the employers. So I visited the British Gas 10 years ago. I was very impressed from the case studies, and so we studied the advanced measures in UK company, and we introduced it and discussed the more sufficient package of the policies now. Yeah.
I think we've got time for one more quick question. I have a question to you, so perhaps you could be thinking about it and put it in the chat about what people might be interested in for the next, this is a question to everyone, next topic for this webinar. We thought we might hear about practices around working carers from some other countries for some of the next ones. But if you've got suggestions of things you think it would be useful to hear about and discuss, please put them in the chat. But has anyone got a last quick question?
If I may, I mean, yeah, no, I mean, just to build on your question, Nick, and it was a question for Catherine. You know, in my mind, this group is also very much about the connection between research and policy, and I think Employers for Carers to some extent is, you know, a great example of that. I wanted to ask you, Catherine, you know, with the Carers Leave Act, to what extent you have engaged with Employers for Carers in the group of companies committed to supporting their employees with caregiving responsibilities, and to what extent that has played a role in Carers UK being successful in advocating for you know, carers leave of unfortunately only 5 days and only unpaid, but you know, that's a starting point.
It's
so if you could reflect on that.
Yeah, it's a very good question, Stacey. Glad you've asked that one. I would say it's been incredibly important. We have actually had the insights from employers who have already provided carers leave. So not only British Gas, but employers from a range of sectors who have provided carers leave, who provide it paid as well. And that we have worked very closely with our policy colleagues, policy and public affairs side, to have these discussions, to share their insights, and we think that has made a real impact actually on the formation of that policy. And I think particularly during times where public funds are so tight, that I think government is quite open to hearing about, you know, why employers think it's important, why there is a business case. So I think the resonance of employers saying it can be done, it's actually makes business sense for us, and in fact we're losing money if we don't provide carers leave, makes business feel less, makes government feel less risk averse about potentially introducing legislation. So yes, I think right from the very beginning, Employers for Carers has played that role in helping to influence policy. As I said on my summary slide about it, it's one of the key things that's happened.
Thank you very much.
Great, thank you very much again to the presenters. It was really interesting to hear about what's going on and how it's working. So I appreciate your time, and thank you to everyone for coming. Yes, we hope to see you at the next one. Thank you.